Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest Arc Chapter 14, and ooh boy, some stuff is going down in this chapter. Okay, so we last left off with Brandish meeting up with Lucy, and she kind of helps her find the Natsu's group, which are now on top of a giant mountain that Brandish had turned a pebble into a giant mountain to stop the boat that they were on, and that was kind of her like, oh, I'm gonna help, but not really help, kind of thing. We also had some Jalal and Loxus and Toka stuff going on in the last couple of chapters, and that's gonna come into play with the later part of this chapter. So let's focus on the Natsu and Erza and Wendy stuff, because that's the main focus of this chapter, or at least the first part of the chapter. I'm really happy that Erza's back to normal, because I was getting sick and tired of all of the BS. There's a difference between natural weakness and just like she was made to be. She was awful. It's less of a, oh, she's out of character, and more of a, she was no. Nobody should be treated like that. Erza's a strong individual that even if she has a weak moment here and there, she's always strong in heart in general, and that was not her, what was going on. And I got, that was kind of the point. But I didn't like what was going on with her there, and I'm really glad that she's back to normal now, because now she is pissed. She is pissed at the slashing lady. I gotta remember people's names. Oh well, one day. But she's pissed at the slashing lady. She now knows that it's more of a hypnosis rather than some kind of mystical, magical, whatever. I mean, it's all magic, but it's a bit more. Now that she knows that it's hypnosis specifically in some, at least in some capacity, she can avoid that, and it's already halved on her because she's got her eye. So as long as it's not like a different kind of hypnosis, I guess she should be okay. She's just gotta keep it. She's just gotta keep it in her head that she cannot be hypnotized now. So they're fighting it out throughout the chapter. So they're doing some pretty good stuff. Maybe less. They got less space in the boat than they did at the Water God Dragon's castle house, whatever. So they're not necessarily doing any acrobatic stuff, but they're fighting it out. Up top, you have Natsu and Wendy fighting the Skull guy, and they're actually kind of fighting pretty well with him. Obviously, the Skull guy can turn things into ash, anything. I don't like that. That seems a little too overpowered, but I guess that kind of is remedied in this chapter to some degree. So Natsu kind of basically goes at him, and his fire is being turned to ash, and that's like, well, whatever. However, then Wendy takes the lead, and that kind of really messes him up, because he can't really turn air into ash. It's an intangible thing entirely. Fire, at least, is something like, yes, it's technically intangible, but there's a physical form to it that you can see and you can kind of touch. But air, you can't do anything to that. So that's going to be their forefront attack for it, to get him off his feet. And she goes into Dragon Force mode and gets him up in the air, and that kind of throws him off. And then Natsu comes in with a Fire Dragon Iron Fist and fights him, and they're tussling it out up top. That's when the armor guy comes up, and he's like, what's going on? I don't know what's going on here. The Skull guy then says something interesting. He says he's finally going to just eat them. Now, this could mean two things. It could mean, one, he's literally going to try to eat them. I mean, they're dragon-eating dragon slayers. Natsu and Wendy are not dragons, specifically. They can wield dragon-slaying magic, but they're not dragons themselves. And so the second thing is, I assume that he's just going to try to kill them. They were keeping them alive for at least a little while because, one, they thought they were interesting, I guess, and two, I don't remember whether they had a specific plan for them, or whether, at the very least, that they reveal it. But he's done with it. They're free from their shackles, and he's just got to deal with them. So he's done. We then jump back to Magnolia, and Toka's thanking Loxus for saving her from the big bad Jalal. And everybody's like, oh, are you okay? Is everything all right? Loxus didn't try anything, and there's kind of a spoof on Loxus being a weirdo and a jerk. And he's like, I saved her. That's like, come on. But they're all joking around. But meanwhile, Gajiel's still very, very suspicious of her, and he's very his intuition about this is right on the money. He sees her like kind of give it like a creepy smile, and Levy is like, what do you want? What are you doing? And he's like, oh, she was just smiling a little bit there, and it's kind of creepy. And she goes, well, you really shouldn't talk. And I thought that was kind of funny, because then it's like him looking all like curmudgeony, and he's right on the money though, because we get a little bit further into her mind in the next couple of pages. We also get some jokes at Juvia's expense, where it's because it's raining out, so they're all like, oh, like, it's raining out, yeah, are you okay? And she's like, oh, well, I had heard that there was a scary woman here in this guild or in this town that causes rain, and like they're all like, yeah, that's probably Juvia, and Juvia's like, oh, don't talk about me. That brings us back to Loxus, though. Loxus isn't an idiot. He may have saved her, but that doesn't mean he's just gonna blindly be okay with her. So obviously they trust Jalal mostly. I mean, maybe some of them have reservations due to his past transgressions. However, they do have a history with him, so I'm sure that they're not all thinking, hey, Jalal's off his rocker and he's got no reason to think blah 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 blah. So Loxus basically says, hey Toka, listen. You're part of our guild now. That means you're part of our family. And that means that we'll protect you. But if you're keeping some secrets from us, you best watch out. Because if any of those secrets do end up having a reason to hurt us, because everybody's got secrets, everybody's got some stuff hidden, and that's fine. But if any of her background is going to put any of the rest of Fairy Tail at risk, they're going to have some real problems. And everybody else looks like surprised and kind of like a little confused. Gajiel's like, yeah, no, that's what I was thinking too. And Toka's just like, okay, well, I'm gonna go home now, I guess. We then jump back to Erza versus the slashing lady, and they're just kind of going at it in the room, and the slashing lady, I gotta learn these people's name. I said that already, but I gotta do it. She's like, I'm gonna cut you. Where do you want me to cut you next? Maybe something more interesting. And again, Erza knows that it's hypnosis, so she can't. So she says it's not gonna work this time. Blah 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 blah. Slash girl is like, well, how about I cut you somewhere cool, and maybe I'll cut away the person that you love. And we get a brief, like, funny frame of Erza looking all, no, not that. And that brings us back to Jalal and the last couple of pages of this chapter. Jalal's back in his, I guess, hotel, and he's looking out the window like he was before, and he gets a visitor, and that's Toka. So she went from the guild down to Jalal's hotel, and so somehow she knew that it was him. And they have an interesting exchange here, because for the time being, Jalal has agreed to just kind of back off for a little while, at the very least for a little while. So he's surprised to see her track him down, and she comes in looking all like, I mean, but more or less how she's been looking this entire time. He specifically calls her Toka the White Mage, and she's actually a little bit surprised that he knows who she is, and she goes on to says, that makes this easier. Now that we're on a level and we know who each other are, stay out of her way. This has been like her MO for like the last whatever amount of chapters that she's been introduced, where it's like, if she's the last person to be shown in a frame in the chapter, she's gonna have a gruesome face on her. She kind of had that look on her face when she had just moved into her apartment, and now she's doing it again, but now she's directing that anger, and they're not anger, but like evilness towards Jalal, and she says to get out of her way. So I'm interested to see what her motives are. She's clearly the one that stole the Water God Dragon's powers. I would not even be surprised if she's the reason that's raining over Magnolia right now, and that's like, oh, well, everybody's like, oh, it must be Juvia, but it's really her in some capacity, and that's like maybe her way of tracking people. But I'm interested to see what her deal is. Is she going to hunt down all of the Pentadrakes, or all the dragons that you can find to steal their powers, or was it the Water God Dragon? Did she steal the Water God Dragon's powers specifically, or maybe just coincidentally even, did maybe she just like she ran into him, she said, oh, that's cool, and I'll take that, and then maybe she'll steal other people's magic abilities, and it's not just the dragons. But I wouldn't be surprised if she was going after all of the dragons, and maybe that was the whole thing where it's like, okay, well, they originally thought that the dragons were going to be their problem, but then it turned out that they were all pretty chill, and now they have to fight Toka the White Mage, and that's their problem, and she's got all of their magic, and maybe that's why they've been so laying dormant and haven't really done anything, because they have lost the bulk of their magic, and she's a real threat that's just been growing over the last couple of years or whatever. I think that'll be an interesting aspect of what's going on in this, where we have all these bad guys, but who is the real bad guy? Who is going to be the real threat at the end of the day? I'm wondering if maybe Toka teams up with the dragon-eating dragon slayers in some capacity, and maybe they get into cahoots. And because I honestly don't know at this point, I don't know if I see the Pentadrakes being evil. I could honestly see Toka. What's the old dragon guy? His name? I don't remember his name either. The old guy that gave them the 100 Years quest, and the dragon-eating dragon slayers. I could see them all being the main bad guys, and then the holy Pentadrakes just being like, we lost our powers. We're not trying to do anything. We're just trying to live our lives. And that's the whole thing. So yeah, I definitely see that. I can definitely see it going in that direction. Anyways, I thought this chapter was fun. I'm glad to see Erza and the others kind of kicking some more butt. They don't have to win every time, but I'm glad to see that they're doing a little bit better than they were a number of chapters ago. I'm glad to see some more development with Toka and Jalal. I want to see them kind of go at it. I was really surprised to see them have Loxus jump in the middle between them, because it's not like Jalal's that like some kind of like stranger. They know that he's trustworthy at this point. They know that he's got some ties with Erza and whatnot. So I'm interested to see how they react. Maybe they all pretend to like Toka, but in the end, it's like they all know something's up with her, and that's why they're keeping her around, because they wanna have her kept under lock and key for a little while. I could see all this. I enjoyed this chapter overall. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. I guess that's all I got to say for today. I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.